Hey guys, this is Sumner Healy from LandInvestor.co. I'm going to show you guys how to close more deals in your land business. It's actually a lot simpler than you think. If you guys are new here, we build out videos teaching folks how to grow and scale land investing businesses. Hopefully you guys like this content. All right, so my answer is going to be very simple, but the detail that I provide is going to be pretty darn complex in what we're going to cover in this video. So the way you can close more deals in your business is by A, you becoming better at sales, or B, your sales team becoming better at sales. And the actual practicalities, the tips that I'm going to give you in this video are really easy to implement. Like honestly, very easy to implement. But I have tested so many different sales strategies, sales approaches, sales schools of thoughts within my business. And this is really what I've distilled down to see if that actually works. This is like the 80-20 principle of sales, right? You don't have to be a hard closing machine on the phones. But if you can build in what I'm going to teach in this video, you'll notice an immediate difference, whether it's with you or with your team, in terms of the deals you're able to convert or the deals you're able to negotiate at a better price. You see, a lot of times, myself, and I'm guilty of this, we talk about more marketing, more leads coming in, yet most of us are guilty of not fully treating these leads appropriately and doing the most that we absolutely can to lock up deals at the best price, and on top of that, convert the highest number of those leads. And so in order to do that, what we need to do is become phenomenal at sales. So let's dive into it. I'm gonna show you guys how to become great at sales in the land investing business. All right, first and foremost, this is just ground rules we need to set. First off, price only gets discussed on the phone. Never text a price, never email a price. If you're talking about offer price, that's only gonna happen on a call. You can allude to it. You could, if worst case, provide a range via text or email, but price should always be discussed on the phone. And this is because negotiating is a two-way conversation. It's not a monologue. A lot of times texting is like a monologue, like blah, 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 just say all this stuff, you send it out, no response, or just a flat out no. What you want to do is negotiate on the phones. And so when you're speaking about price, it should exclusively be on the phone. Okay, so now we've got that out of the way. When you enter a phone call, I see far too many people joining a phone call with a seller and acting like they don't belong. And truth be told, a lot of sellers get bombarded with solicitation. They know they have something that's of some value, and so they're not really too excited to talk to you, right? You're probably not the first person to call them. So it's very important that you enter that call assumptively and with confidence. Now, what does that mean? Well, if I know that, John Smith has reached out to our company, I'm gonna make a phone call and say, hey, Mr. Smith, or hey, John Smith. I'm never gonna say, hey, is Mr. Smith there? Is John Smith there? So many people get on the phone and they act like they don't belong there. So you need to answer the call assumptively. Even if it sounds like it's the wrong person, I'm gonna still say, hey, Mr. Smith. It's like, this isn't Mr. Smith, that's my brother. Okay, sure. Well, in that case, you're probably also Mr. Smith as well, but you get the gist of what I'm getting at here. Enter the call assumptively. The other thing we want to do is we want to match what they're saying. So if I get on a call and they say, hey, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Smith. If they say, hi, I'm going to say, hi, Mr. Smith. Right off the bat, we want to mirror their word choice. This is going to just subtly reflect back to them that, hey, we are the same, right? You want to do business with someone you know, like, and trust, and ultimately it's easier to know, like, and trust someone when they feel similar to you. And so what we're going to be doing throughout this conversation is just sprinkling in little components of mirroring. One of the easiest things you can do is just match exactly what they say when they open the call. And this kind of leads into setting the frame. And so when you get on the call, you want to be getting on the call by setting the frame. And typically I want to be joining a call enthusiastically. Now, one of the caveats to this, and this goes into the mirroring, is I will join a call enthusiastically, but I'll pivot if I need to based on where that seller's at. And so let's talk about mirroring. And mirroring in this approach is just going to be matching word choice, matching tonality, and matching their energy, right? So if I get on a call and someone's really excited, well, I'm gonna match that excitement. I'll use similar word choice to them. I'll use a similar cadence of speech. But if they talk like this, I'll match that as well. But regardless, when I'm joining a call, that first 30 seconds, I want to join with enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is such a rare energy in this world. I think a lot of people are magnetized to other enthusiastic individuals. And maybe that's why you're watching this video, because I'm an enthusiastic individual and there's not very many enthusiastic individuals in the land space, right? That subtle difference in energy is so magnetic. And so if you can present that on the phone initially, you're going to set the frame, set the stage. But beyond that, you do kind of want to pivot and mirror to their energy, but I still want to be joining a call with excitement, with energy, and with confidence to set the frame for that call. On a more tactical front, anytime that I'm going to be joining a call with a seller, I typically am going to have some baseline of information. And that might be from a letter they sent me, that might be a response to a text that they sent when we did a cold text campaign, that might be they called into Pat Live and my assistant took notes on that call. Typically, we're going to have some notes on the seller before we're calling them. I don't like going in blind on a call. And so what we'll do is we'll always include those notes within our CRM. So my sales team has all that information in there. And what we want to do is go through before the call and just get a foundation of what's going on in their situation, but also to utilize their words. Now, if we get someone that reaches out to us and says, I need to sell this 75-acre property for $15,000 in cold hard cash to get my teeth done, we're going to repeat that on the call. Hey, Mr. Smith, I heard that you're trying to sell this property for $15,000 in cold hard cash to get your teeth done. You want to relay what they said to you, and in best case, you want to relay it in identical form. Spit it right back to them. Make them feel like they're understood. Make them feel like you've actually gone and done your due diligence. The worst thing that you can do that I've seen folks do in a multitude of businesses outside of just land is they ask stupid questions, right? If you have the answer already, do not ask a question either for question asking sake or because you did not do your research. It's disrespectful to the seller's time, and in most cases, they're not going to take you seriously because you're not taking yourself seriously. Do the prep work before the call and utilize that information to shift the negotiation and understand what direction you need to take it in, because you have some valuable information in terms of why they're even reaching out to sell the property, but also on top of it to kind of spit back the information of what they mentioned. Now, we're not always so lucky to have a perfect complete picture before getting on a call, but we're typically going to have something that gives us some read on where the seller's at. And sometimes it's the reverse. They say, I'm not interested in selling the property, I just want an offer. Great, I'm going to spit that back to them on the phone. I know you're not interested in an offer, but you just want to know what your property's worth. Okay, we'll go through that conversation nonetheless, right? We don't just throw away a lead because it seems like they don't fit based on that initial form that was filled out or text that was sent. We'll still give them the time of day. We'll still use that information in the call and spit it right back at them. The next thing is, whether this is for you or for your sales team, when you're on that call with a seller, you need to be recording notes in your CRM. This is great because it's going to give transparency to the rest of your team members, but even if you're just a solo operator, this is going to make sure that you have everything organized under one central location. Don't take notes in a journal. I used to do this, and then you're trying to call the seller back for a follow-up and you can't find the journal, you can't remember what was spoken about on that call. Keep it in the seller's record within your CRM. Within our business, we use Follow Up Boss both for acquisitions and dispositions, and it works beautifully. Okay, so now you're in the thick of the call. You guys are going back and forth. You built a little bit of rapport. You're having a good conversation. The next thing that you want to do is when you're going to discuss price, you're talking about a number, say your price and be quiet. Silence is such a powerful negotiator, and far too many people try to over-explain or over-justify their price. Say your price and be quiet. Now, you want to have justifications in reserve, but you never want to pair that with saying the price. So, hey, our offer is going to be $25,000 for the property. And then what will happen is you'll let them start to kind of wind their wheels and say, wow, I can't do that, or I can do that, or I'll have to talk to my wife. Let them explain themselves. Let them kind of foreshadow why they can or can't do that. You're going to get some really, really good intel on it. On top of it, it's going to make it look like you're negotiating from a point of leverage, because when you're explaining yourself, you look like you're weak. You look like you're trying to talk them into it. No one wants to be sold into it, right? So say your price and be quiet. Now, if you say your price and you're quiet and then they come back to you and it's not going well and you guys are way off on price, don't leave the conversation. See, a lot of people go on that first attempt and they think the conversation's over. It's not. You stay in that conversation, you keep on working through it. It doesn't mean that you come to a resolution on that call or you guys even get to a price that's agreeable, but they'll respect you more for it ultimately, right? Like, don't give up on that lead, don't give up on that call. The way I teach my team is that there's a reason this person's reached out to us, right? We send out 5,000 letters and 50 people respond. Why do those 50 people respond? Because they have some level of motivation. Yes, there are a few outliers that just want to kick the tire, but they are the very, very small minority. And so you need to keep that perspective. When you're on these calls with people, there's a real reason that they've reached out. Don't give up. You've said one price, they said no. Keep going in that conversation. You'll either find a price that is agreeable, maybe meet in the middle, or you'll unearth what their actual real price is, what their real number is, what the point where it actually makes sense for them. And in some cases, that might make sense for you, right? We've saved many deals by just staying in the conversation longer, only to find out that it's actually about something totally different. They don't need 75 grand for the property like they originally mentioned. They need to go get their car fixed, and that's more important, or whatever it may be. And so you'll stay in it long enough to start unearthing some really valuable intel that you can use throughout that conversation. Don't give up on that first go. Now, once you presented your offer and you guys are in agreement, it's very, very important that you explain next steps. Do not leave anything up to chance. Don't let them leave that call and not understand what exactly is going to happen next. Because just because you've agreed on price doesn't mean you have a signed contract. You still need to go through the rigmarole of sending a contract, getting them to sign it, send it to title, wait 3 weeks for the closing. Like there's still a process to go through, and there's a high risk that they fall out during that process. So it's very, very important that you explain next steps to them. So the way we do that is we'll present the offer, say, hey, have you ever gone through a process like this before? They might say yes, they might say no. Even if they say yes or no, we're still gonna explain how our process works. Chances are ours is different, but we still wanna get a read on, have they ever done a real estate transaction? Do they have any insight in terms of what this process entails? Because it's typically not overnight. It's gonna take 2 to 3 weeks to get this puppy closed and get them paid. So it's very, very important that you explain next steps. What can happen is you'll get them to agree on price. You're so excited, you hang up the call, you send the contract, they never sign it. A confused mind always says no. And so it's very, very important that you walk them through the process, make sure that there's no ambiguity, there's no confusion in terms of how this is all gonna go down. It'll set you up in a much better position to ensure that once you get off the call and send the contract, they're ready to sign it and they know what to do next. Okay, so let's say you present the offer, they say they're gonna think about it, they don't give you a confirmation. You need to follow up daily at that point. Right? I think a lot of people think it's not tactful to follow up daily. It's too much, it's overbearing. It's only overbearing if there's no rapport there, right? If the lead comes in and you're just following up aggressively and there's no rapport, no conversation that's been had, no. But if you've had a conversation and it sounds like they're interested and they've given you a verbal where they said like, hey, I'm gonna think about it, I'll get back to you tomorrow, and they don't, keep pushing, right? Of course, at a certain point, you don't want to do 365 days of calling someone every day. It's too much. At a certain point, take the hint. But in that window, when we've gotten a good conversation with someone, they've agreed to the price, but they haven't signed yet, we haven't gotten that contract back, we will consistently follow up because we are in that sweet spot where if too much time elapses, time kills deals. It's all too likely that deal falls apart. So it's very, very important that we stay in it until we get that contract signed. Just because they agreed on the phone does not mean the deal is done. And last but certainly not least, you need to be listening either to your calls or your team's calls at least once a month. I recommend 1 to 2 hours of going through and reviewing your team's calls or your calls. Figure out what can be improved. There's always something that can be improved when it comes to sales. And it's very, very important that if you have a team that you're constantly providing feedback, they need to understand that A, you are listening, you are paying attention, you are observing, and B, they have someone there that can actually coach and guide them. Sales is a contact sport. It's really aggressive, it's intense. It's like going and playing football. And so people are gonna have bad games, right? They're gonna have a week where things aren't working and you need to come in and diagnose and provide feedback. So it's very, very important that you're reviewing your team's calls. Same for yourself. Go through and give yourself feedback. If you're taking calls, listen to those calls, figure out what you could do better. Sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you're in the trenches, you're on the phone, it's so easy to lose sight of what you're actually doing. You'll go back and listen to it and be like, oh my God, I made that mistake. I can't believe I did that. Take notes on it, reinforce it, don't let it happen again. The only way you can actually get better though is by going and reviewing your past work. Again, sales is a sport. It's like going and reviewing tapes from old games. You need to pay attention to the stuff, you need to review it. I recommend doing it at least 1 to 2 hours per month, either for your team or for yourself. That's all I got for you guys. This is how you're gonna close more deals, convert more of the leads that you're getting, ultimately, hopefully, lock them up at a better price, and in turn, just make more from the same marketing spend. So hopefully this has been of value for you guys. If you're looking to begin building your own land investing business, we've got some goodies for you down below. You can book a call with yours truly and learn about our land investing accelerator program. That's all I got for you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.